What you get when you take former developers from BioWare and Ubisoft, take them out of the coal mines and allow them to create the game that they actually wanted to make. Well, you probably get a chunk of the expertise they have amassed throughout the years, and nothing of the checklist mentality that pervades the industry in this day and age. This is Eternal Strands, and I suppose for you to be here, you already know what I'm gonna talk about, at least in broad strokes. It is an exploration and magic focused action game with a twist from the past. The combat system in this game is probably its biggest selling point, but also the part of it that feels the junkiest and the most simplified. That is because Eternal Strands invites you to approach in a very specific way with a very specific mindset, and that is one of experimentation and mixing things together. Disclaimer: before we proceed, I'd like to let you know that there will be no spoilers in this video. I stand adamant by my belief that me making a cooler video is not a good trade-off for ruining your experience. I'll be showing stuff mostly from the demo, a couple of trailers and a bit of gameplay that might include areas that you meet 2 or 3 hours down the road, but nothing when it comes to dialogues or story bits will be shown here. You're 100% safe. So I will start with combat, and to make combat understandable in this game we have to talk about environmental interactions. In this game about 60% of everything around you can be destroyed. Furniture, weapon racks, even the ground you stand on, granted is wooden or something else destructible, you can break it and reach places or drop enemies through the openings you create that would otherwise simply not be there. If you approach combat in this game with your sword and shield or claymore or bow, you're missing out on a ton of what's fun in this experience. This is due to a very specific characteristic. You see, Eternal Strands is Dragon's Dogma if Dragon's Dogma was written well. Freely roaming this world are two types of colossal creatures, the Archons that are constructs, and of course animals like the Burning Glasstail that you see here in this clip. Do not worry, this is pretty early in the game, nothing is being spoiled, as I said in the beginning. What you have to do to defeat these creatures is climb them, but you will be climbing them and breaking off their parts and collecting them and crafting stuff with it. Very much akin to Dragon's Dogma and even more to Monster Hunter. What's great in the case of Eternal Strands is that fighting these creatures is not even the main focus of the game. You have these intricate mechanics of climbing them and using stamina to keep on them and take out their horns and their carapaces and all that, but you don't play the game in order for you to grind these items and get the better gear. This is a part of its gameplay loop, and it also sports an actually interesting and heartwarming tale behind all the flashy shenanigans. You end up fighting these creatures to harvest their strands, as the game calls them, that imbue you with new magical abilities. You don't need to max out every single one of these abilities, you don't need to fight these creatures 1,000 times. The game actually makes a case of explaining that the loss of life entailed into creating these spells is something to be regretted and nothing to be celebrated, but sometimes becomes a necessity in this dire, cruel world. Now, for a cruel world, the color palette and the writing is pretty aloof and heartwarming, but close to this heartwarmingness lies a very adept writing hand and a clear creative vision about the sort of characters you will be dealing with. And I'm not gonna go very in depth with this so I don't spoil anything, but let's just state that the constant negging and vitriol that you see in the average video game in this day and age is absolutely absent in Eternal Strands, lending it a level of positivity when it comes to interactions that we rarely see nowadays. Moving past combat, I wanna focus on the mobility that the game allows you. As you can see here, I'm climbing a tower and I'm breaking the wooden planks that are blocking my way instead of going around them. You can also climb every single surface in this game, including the bodies of your gigantic enemies. And if something is below you and you are blocked by a wooden floor, as you will see here, you just need to keep attacking in the general direction of the wood that will eventually break, revealing the level below. Then you can proceed to that level in order to loot the contents of any chest or any secrets that can be found here. The world has a pretty large assortment of maps, some of which include upgrade materials or schematic to craft armors, and you will be happy to know it is the epitome of ease of life. Let me break it down to you. You craft your armor, you craft your weapons, and whenever you want, for no cost whatsoever and for nothing wasted, you can go in, change the stats of this equipment piece, and if you want in the future, you can rechange them or break it down totally, and you get everything that you have spent on it back. This is an excellent system that allows you to experiment and also to modify your gear pieces so they will be ideal for any situation you might want to tackle. Another huge quality of life choice made here is that instead of having characters throw exposition dumps at you, the game sports a very extensive codex. Character speaks as if they know that you know what they're talking about, and in case something comes out as odd, you can just open your codex and study what is in there. They know you will have questions, and instead of nagging you all day, letting you know what a toilet is or what green looks to the eye, they offer you encyclopedia that they actually went into the process and trouble of making. The game is not the most high-tech thing you've ever seen in your life, but it performs quite well and looks gorgeous at scale. It's very cartoonish and very colorful. Of course, nothing is perfect, and as I said earlier, if you fight in this game in a conventional manner, you're robbing yourself of a lot of enjoyment. As you can see in this clip, defeating enemies in hand-to-hand combat boils down to you knocking them around with kinetic magic and then going over their lying body and hacking away. It's not very engaging or interesting, but it's not the way it's supposed to be done. Eventually all your weapons get secondary abilities that can freeze an area or set it ablaze, and that makes the proceedings that much more interesting. You have to keep an open mind, use your environment and the tools available to you to create distraction and effectiveness in a scale that will create a memorable experience. Now I've done my due diligence and provided you with my own gameplay, showing you what I've been doing around the first hours of the game, but truth be told, there is no video on the internet or anything that I could conjure up that details what this game is all about better than their own trailer, that the developers released recently for the release date of their game. In this trailer, people have left comments in fora and in the promotional material that preceded it and asked questions about what is possible in the game, and pretty much the wackiest thing that people have been thinking you can do in Eternal Strands. You can freeze the wings of a dragon mid-flight and bring it crashing down. You can grab the fireballs of enemies mid-air and throw them back. Dislodge the shields of enemy, grab them and hit them in the distance and never have to fight them. And relaying all this information to you fills me with joy. It is not the most intricate game you've ever played, it's not the most complex game you've ever played, it's not the hardest or the most precise, but it has a lot of soul in it and a lot of good ideas that the people who made it actually wanted you to use in order to have a good time. Eternal Strands is a flawed game that will probably be remembered as the first work from the people that gave us some true greatness in their past years. People coming from BioWare penning this thing and people coming from Ubisoft creating the enormous world that you can explore sure brought their A game here, and for an indie game of this scope, Eternal Strands is definitely worthy of your attention. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope this was useful and helped you make an informed decision. Subscribe, like and hit the notification bell for more reviews like this, and until next time, be well, stay frosty and always strive for perfection. Cheers!